The phone and the text line have been lighting up about the Ben Hunt story. Firstly, we'll go to you on your take on the situation.
I think once you cross the line, once you step over that line and make it public that you don't want to be at the club you're at, you're on the path of getting a release. How many times have we seen a player say he's not happy at a club and the club win the battle and keep him there?
Yeah.
No, none. I'd say none. I can't remember it happening. So once you step over that line, you are on a path to get a release because it just can't work. You can't have your captain and your halfback saying he wants out of the club and you try and talk him into it. Now, Shane Flanagan's already spoken to Ben Hunt. So I don't know how it gets any better. What is Ryan Webb going to try and entice him and tell him how good things are going to be? I don't think that wins the argument. So if Shane Flanagan's already said to Ben Hunt, Ben, you're going to play halfback, this is what we're going to do, and Ben Hunt has still come forward and said, I want a release, I think it'll come to a head very quickly, and I can't see Ben Hunt saying that. I just, if he doesn't want to be there and if he's steadfast in what he said and he wants to stand his ground and he wants to get out of there, well, I think he will. I think that will be the end of it.
Well, Cameron, we need to ask you in Queensland camp. I mean, it's not perfect. It is a distraction. Certainly it's all over the papers in Sydney. I'm not quite sure whether Queensland giving it quite the same coverage, Cameron, but it's not ideal to have key man getting headlines like this. It'd be a pretty thick-skinned player not to be... I mean, Ben Hunt is being slaughtered on our text line today. Now, I know Ben wouldn't be listening to the program, but he'd get wind of it somewhere. He's being slaughtered. His integrity, the whole bit, 2 days out from an Origin game.
Yeah, and I can understand the reasons for that on the text line. There's the St George Illawarra Dragons. They've got a huge supporter base. They run pretty much the entire eastern seaboard. It doesn't matter. You watch them when they're on the road. There's always support there for the red and white jersey. But as far as Ben Hunt's concerned and his situation and his attitude at the moment, Vossy, you really wouldn't know. Like, if this has been happening for, say, at least the last 7 days, Ben Hunt, sure, he definitely has not shown any sign of distress or any sign that his mind's not on the job. His focus has been completely on this footy side and his preparation. So, we're not talking about a rookie play here. We're talking about a guy that's played a lot of football. He's an experienced campaigner. He's now into his 30s. So he knows how to deal with these situations. But just touching on what Brandy said, and I completely agree, it's got to the point now where Ben Hunt has made the fact clear publicly that he doesn't want to be at the Dragons and he's not completely happy with the situation there. I just don't know how much further this can go with him being a part of that football club. And from I guess from a player's point of view, I don't know why you'd want to have a player at your club that doesn't want to be there. If you understand what I mean, like why would you want to keep someone there that really doesn't have the commitment levels that you need to have to be at your very best at a club? I'd rather that person just move on and get someone in that's committed to the cause.
Players have got to play. Players are paid to play, Capes. This is what we've been talking about this morning. They are employees. It's very hard to see. Trent's former cricketer. I'm just member of the media. If he has a problem with the management, well, so what? So that that's the fans' opinion. So what? Yeah, get on with your job, mate.
Yeah. Vossy, my take on this is, I make no mistake about it. I'm on the board of the Players Association with the cricket, and very much on players' side of things being fair. And if Ben wanted to come out and say, "Yep, I'm gone," no worries. He did it via a text to a journo, so I don't know whether he's actually come out and said he wants to leave. But the other thing is, I guess, the value of a contract. The Dragons have spent other money in other areas based off this contract, him being the captain of the club. So it's not just like, he doesn't want to be there. It's what's that cost the club? Because he's just like, I want to leave immediately. How do you fix that? And it might take 18 months. And, what's the cost of the club for that? Yeah, so I don't disagree with the premise. But there's a lot of opportunity cost that comes with that.
Yeah. I think there's a situation, boys, where from my point of view, with looking at my career, I played at the one club my entire career, right? And there was never really a time where I wanted to leave the club. So, but if it ever come the occasion, and it was a rare occasion, that there was a certain player involved with the Melbourne Storm, and they would have, and if they'd approached management and said, "Look, I don't want to be here anymore," as a player at that football club and as the captain of the Melbourne Storm, I would have said, "No dramas, let that person go." It didn't matter what position they played, how experienced they were, if they were a rookie, if they were a veteran, whatever it was. If they didn't have the commitment to be a part of our football club, let them go. I would rather see them go and the club bring in someone that was committed to our club, to our organisation, and to our football team.
Yeah, well said.
I guess the story. I guess the story is so big because at the moment he is the Dragons. At the moment, last season, this season, everything revolves around Ben Hunt. If Ben Hunt plays well, the Dragons are a chance of winning the game. So that's why it's so emotive, I think, the fact that the captain, the best player, has said, "I want out." Now, we get plenty of players, that aren't as high profile as Ben, changing clubs. It doesn't make much of a it doesn't make much of a story. This is a story because this bloke has been in great form over the past 2 years, and that's what's I guess eating away at the Dragons fans.
The Ben Hunt thing sort of grabbed me by surprise.
Okay, I'm going to have my say on this now, boys.
Really?
Yeah, this is a gift for the Dragons. Ben Hunt, no doubt about it, has been their best player, and I'd love your opinion, Brooksy, because you've been a Dragon. He's been their best player for basically as long as he's been there. There's no question about that. But here's a fun fact, boys, and hit the crap stat button, please, tourist.
Crap stat.
The top 8 players, paid players in the rugby league.
Do we know that for sure?
Well, by all reports, the top 8 highest paid players in the rugby league right now.
Yep.
How many are currently inside the top 8?
Nathan Cleary's one.
Yep.
Daly Cherry Evans is one.
No, he's not.
He's not.
Manly,
He's not the highest.
Manly only in the top 8.
No, I'm going through the
okay.
numbers.
Yep.
And you're going to tick.
Yeah.
Nathan Cleary, Kalen Ponga.
Well, you've already
Daly
ticked off the one that's there.
Is that it?
There is one of the 8 highest paid players in the game right now. One is in the top 8.
Wow.
Okay, no, fair enough.
Okay, so my theory around this is it's one thing to get paid that money. And if you're going to get paid that money, being a superstar in your own right, Ben Hunt has been their best player, right? But it's got to be what you do for everyone else, right? So there are leaders. Clearly, Nathan Cleary and the standards he sets at training and the way he drags everyone up. And you saw the same with Sonny Bill Williams. Sonny Bill Williams turns up to the club, and by all reports, everyone lifted 5 or 10%. Ben Hunt has been brilliant in his own right for St George Illawarra, but the team and those around him, he hasn't made those around him have their best ever seasons. Brian,
Yeah, there's not many players that can. I know where you're going with that. Joey, for example, would make players go better but I don't think that's Ben Hunt's fault.
No, that's not his fault. It's just not his. It's not him. He's not that leader, I don't believe, who says, righto, come with me, let's go. And everyone, which I think Nathan Cleary would do that, right? I don't think Tommy Turbo has that presence. Tommy Turbo is just an absolute superstar player, and I think that Kalen Ponga is an absolute superstar player. But I don't believe that they personally get all ships rising with the tide.
Okay. So do you think so you're leaning towards let him go, save your 1.2, go and get 2 or 3 players?
Oh, Brian, it's the greatest gift of all time. And it's no slant on if Ben Hunt can go to another club and he's not required to be the numero uno main man and just play his role. He's an awesome player. He's a terrific player, and there's nobody could dispute that. So is 1.2 the number we're working with?
That's what by all reports he's on. Well, he signed the extension. Brooks, you might know more. I know he got less.
Yeah, he got less than his previous contract. Yeah, definitely. It was a bit of a
So what are we calling, $1 million? $1
million.
Yeah, I think it was 9,950.
Okay.
Around that. That's what was reported.
Okay. They've had the first gift come along, Dragons, and sometimes you get gifts by accidents where you're trying to sign a rookie coach for $800,000 a year, please. How's that standing up? Mate, there's clubs, and clearly they've got big futures, right? But in the event of Benji and Cameron Ciraldo, right now, and I know things take time, but it hasn't taken much time for Webster. Like, are those clubs materially better 12 months on than what, say, Madge had them going or Canterbury? My point in all of this is, right, is that, the money that is being spent for Ben Hunt, right? So turning things around. It can't all be on Griffin. It can't all be on Ciraldo. It can't all be on Benji and Tim Sheens, but it also can't be on the former coaches either. If you, Brian, if you can negotiate a deal, if you go to Ben and say, hey, Ben, okay, look, we're not going to make this too hard for you. We understand you don't want to be here, and for you not wanting to be here, it can't be healthy for us and the environment by keeping you here. But look, we've got to get something out of this. So where do you want to go, Ben? Oh, I want to go to
Penrith.
That's
the male.
Okay, Penrith. That's the male.
The male is, for this year, Penrith.
Okay. I'll get back to that in a minute. The whole idea that you can sign for somewhere else like Tavita Pangai a year later and we allow them to go for a bit of a detour is ridiculous. You should only be allowed to go to that club. But anyway, say he says for next year it's the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Or it's the North, whoever it is, doesn't matter. Then the Dragons are in such a strong position to negotiate and say, okay, leave it with us. We want to make it happen for you.
Yep.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the other club that you want to go to, the Gold Coast, and we're going to get ourselves a bona fide starting player, right? Who may be worth 300, 400, 500, 600.
Well, let's put some names to this. So
you're my recruitment manager. So,
okay.
So I'm Ryan Webb. You're the recruitment manager.
Okay.
Who do we want from the Gold Coast? It doesn't have to be like for like.
Well, of course, I'm going to go. I want someone who's going to help us. I think that they need a good forward.
Yep.
I'd like Tino, but that's not going to happen.
No, that's right. So you've got to do something that can happen.
Okay. Something that would happen. I want Mo.
Mo Fodawaker.
I want Mo.
Okay, so what's Mo worth?
And I want both for more.
Yeah, well, we only get one under this deal.
Why? I get two.
No, well, you can get that can be negotiated later, but the one we're going to settle on is Mo Fodawaker.
Okay.
How much? Because we know he's going to be a bona fide starting player for us at the Dragons. How much is the market value for Mo Fodawaker?
I'd say 500.
500. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to the Gold Coast and say, listen, Titans, you want Ben Hunt? He wants to go there. This is all hypothetical. Done. However, we need something out of this. We want Mo Fodawaker, right?
Yep.
And what are you paying him? You're paying him 500? Okay, that's fine. We want you to pay, when he signs for us for the same deal, which is 2.5 years that Ben Hunt's got, we want you paying $300,000 a year.
So we get him for 200.
So we get him for 200.
Okay.
So mathematically, what we're really getting, if Ben Hunt is on the books for $1 million, nobody's going to sign Ben Hunt for 1.3, and we've effectively got 1.3 for Ben Hunt. We've got a bloke who wants to be there, being Mo Fodawaker, who's a bona fide starting player, and then we've got the free money, which is the $1 million that we don't have to spend on Ben Hunt. Is that not the biggest mathematical and sensical no-brainer of all time?
Yeah, it is. But then you've got to get the club to agree to it, because it doesn't really matter to the Dragons, because Ben Hunt wants out. Wants out. So the club that gets him says, well, bad luck. He didn't want to be with you guys.
Yeah, but they desperately want him.
Well, of course, but they will say everyone would want him.
Okay, so
everyone would want him.
So if we went to the Gold Coast Titans and said, look, we know you want Ben Hunt. We would love him too, but he doesn't want to be here. We're not just going to give it to and just free up that money. He's a valuable part of this team. He's going to be bloody valuable for you. What do we get? So if we said to the Titans exactly that, we're getting Mo Fodawaker and you're paying $300,000 of his salary to give you Ben Hunt, would they accept it or not accept it?
I suppose they would, yeah.
So that's the deal, isn't it?
Yeah. The other thing too, Ben Hunt's 34 next year.
That's my point, Brian.
Just getting back to the issue of the Ben Hunt.
He's a gun player.
Gun.
But since his time he's been there at the Dragons, how many players around him? He's the leader in the team. How many players around him have had their best ever seasons?
Okay.
I'm not criticising Ben Hunt as a player. He's a bloody awesome player. But he doesn't have that same influence that your real big leaders like a Sonny Bill Williams and for that type of money. And as we've seen so far, Kalen Ponga doesn't have the same thing. Tommy Turbo doesn't have the same thing. It's a very rare commodity.
The last 2 years, though, he's earned his money. No, I have no doubt.
As a player?
As a player.
Absolutely.
We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Like
absolutely.
What leadership wise, that's not his fault. That's the coach's problem. Coaches, get your gun player.
I think many times the leaders in the team
yes, I agree.
Play a bigger part than the coaches. That's why I think the Melbourne Storm have been such a force for so long, that their leaders on the park are driving everyone up.
Okay, well, if you're going to do the Sonny the Sonny
Bill Williams.
the Sonny Bill Williams question.
Yep.
He had some handy players around him too.
Correct.
He had leaders.
Yeah, but you know yourself, Brian, and you're closer to it than me. The mail was when Sonny Bill went there, everyone lifted 5%. Is that right or not?
Yeah. I heard it was 3.5, but anyway. No, but you had Minnie there, you had Maloney, you had Pearce, so he's had a pretty
100%.
handy guy.
100%.
So that example.
Yep.
Benny Hunt, the last 2 years, has been terrific. He's earned his money. My issue with it, what about the other previous years? Like, I can see why they don't want to get rid of, why they won't give him the release. Then we have the other issue is, you're going to put him in reserve grade.
No, that's ridiculous. Yeah. That's farcical.
I think they're going to have to let him go. But I understand what you're saying. What are you going to get back for it?
You have to win. You have to win the deal. And if he hasn't taken them close to the glory town to this point, then let him go. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, he's a terrific player and he can go win a comp, no doubt about that, but not at the Dragons, not on the back of him. Well, I don't believe.
Well, I don't think many players would be able to lift the Dragons at the moment.
No. So everyone's talking about the front office and it's them, which partially that's true. But the three most important things are the coach, the leadership, and whoever's running the recruitment. So Shane Flanagan, you can tick that off. The leadership. Who is the leadership team there? Who are the players that are having the seasons of their life? You know, who's actually playing to their contract value? And then there's a recruitment manager. Like the next three signings for the Dragons have got to be absolute ironclad. This player has a range of 1 every single week. He's playing 8 out of 10 or he's playing 7 out of 10. They've got too many players who are rocks and diamonds.
Yeah, but that comes down to also the whole team and the coaching staff. They've actually gone pretty good the last month, I thought. You know, whether or not that's got anything to do with the new coach, I don't know. But you're not going to get not many players, not many clubs have the chance to sign a Ben Hunt. That's what I'm saying, and I'm thinking to myself, you're the Dragons, you don't want him to go.
No, but that's exactly right. But at what price? So if you can get $300,000 for another player, like the Mo Fodawaker example, you're effectively fighting to keep him, to pay him $1.3 million, which you wouldn't do.
No.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do.
Can I just say something as a Dragons fan and get a bit nostalgic? Going back to 2018, when they had Widdop and Hunt as their halves, they had Tyson Frizzell, they had Tariq Sims. They won up in Brisbane. They thumped the Broncos week 1.
50s,
and then they nearly took down the Rabbitohs week 2.
Yep.
Widdop did his shoulder in that first game. And then the DeBellin stuff came out that off-season. And it has been downhill since then.
Yeah.
Mary had that squad where he wanted it. They recruited well. They had the star forward pack where 3 or 4 were in the Blues squad that year. And then it just went downhill the last 5 years. I think they were like 14-8 regular season. They went up to Brisbane, won that. They were one game, a couple of minutes from a prelim. And it just went downhill for the next 5 years. We lost players. Frizzell wanted to leave. DeBellin, 2.5 years of his career gone. I'm not going depth into that, but he was playing some very good footy. Widdop got homesick and went home, and Benny Hunt carried the team for the next 5 years. Really,
he's carried them for the last 2, and
so
he's won them. I would say he's won them just offhand. He would won them himself 5 games a year the last 2 years. So
I can't argue with that either.
So if you didn't have him, if you didn't have a Ben Hunt, you'd be crying out for a player like him, and they've got him in there. They've got him in his hands at the moment. I wouldn't want to let him go. And he hasn't, the new coach, Flanagan, hasn't even come yet. To sit down with him and try and change his mind. Because he's 33, but he's playing some of his best football of his career.
Last time you had success properly was that quarterfinal, as you mentioned, and they win that. He gets injured in that game. Gareth Widdop doesn't play in the next game, and they lose that.
13-12.
But this is who you had in the team as leaders. You had Gareth Widdop.
Yep.
You had James Graham.
Yep.
You had Cam McGuinness. You had Tyson Frizzell. You know, Tariq Sims, if you want to throw him in there. But I'd say those main guys.
Internationals, by the way, or
rep, pack.
Or rep players.
But all leaders.
Yeah.
You know, like the Tigers have not had any success. Gareth Ellis, he was that player who all ships rise with the tide.
Yeah.
He had, when Gareth Ellis was at the Tigers were winning. that commodity of those winning type players, you know, your Dale Finucanes, you know, your Cam McGuinness, James Graham, that's the player you need. That's the player the Dragons need. That player who sets standards, who won't accept any shortcuts.
Well, that's Ben Hunt. Ben Hunt's like that.
But why is the other team not doing it?
Well, the other players.
Oh, Ben Hunt's an awesome player.
Ben Hunt is a representative player. You're not telling me at training he knows.
Oh, I don't doubt it, actually. I don't doubt what you're saying.
I think he is a player.
Yep.
And there's not too many Ben Hunts on the market. Whether or not he's going somewhere else, for whatever reason. But I would just give it one last shot to try and keep him there.
Yeah.
Well, what are you saying, Brooksy? Do you want him to go? You don't want him to go, but how are you feeling about the whole situation?
I'm fine with it.
Let him go?
But I think they should get something for him.
You're not sure. You have to get something for him.
Who?
Well, I floated out there that if he wants to go to Queensland, so your Titans thing, I think they've got excess at the spine position. So they've got to try and get one of those spine players, Campbell, Brimson, Boyd. Whether Titans want to do that, that's another thing.
That's not going to happen.
I would personally go to the Cowboys and go Chad Townsend and Reece Robson. I want to get Robson back.
No, but those, you're not going to win a deal with the likes of Robson and those players, are you?
No, but you're saying you want a leader.
And I want a leader and an absolute 1 to 13 starting player every single day of the week who would never, ever be thought about being dropped. And that's Mo Fodawaker would tick that.
Okay, he'll tick that, but he's not going to win you 10 games that off just on the top of my head. I've seen Ben Hunt do it.
But you've still got $1 million to spend.
Yeah. Well, that's a problem. Who are you going to put the $1 million on? Yeah. There's not many quality halves out there. There's none.
Yeah.
There's no quality halves.
Or you get try and get expiring contracts of veterans that you know can come in, lay down a platform, create a good culture, and then you're freeing that cap space to go up.
You know what?
Sign your juniors.
It hasn't worked. You got to gamble on a kid. You know, whether it's his Sandon Smith, whether it's a Braden Trindle, whether it's
let's do this. Tigers, for example.
Yep.
Ben Hunt goes to the Tigers. I'm just throwing it there.
Yeah.
Would you grab a Brooks if you're the Dragons?
Would I grab a Brooks if?
Well, he's not your player. He's not your player you're thinking of as a leader.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Because the talk is this is the talk. Penrith.
Yep.
Who do you get from Penrith?
Well, but he's clearly not going to Penrith long term. He's playing 9 for the rest of the year to win a comp, right?
It's a loan.
It's a loan. I know, but let's just, for argument's sake.
Yeah. Oh, take your pick there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's not too many out there who's of Ben Hunt's quality, but he's gonna go, which is a shame for Dragons fans.
Geez, that's our longest segment.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty good.
Segment ever. 1300 01 1170, which means the next one's going to be pretty short. So have your say. Run home with Joel and Fletch.